Hello. Now we will see about swagger. What is swagger? Swagger is playing one of the major important key role in microservices or API development and microservices consumption and services implementation. And what is a Swagger? Swagger is a set of open source tools built around the Open API specification that can help you design, build, and consume REST APIs or REST microservices. Swagger allows us to describe the structure of our APIs or microservices. It is used for developing APIs and based on the Swagger it will interact with the APIs and it will document the APIs because in microservices we are defining a number of services in a big application and documentation is very important and the tool based documentation. This is a tool based documentation. Manually writing documentation is somewhat difficult. To avoid manual documentation, most of the developers, architects are using Swagger documentation and API technologies. Like as we know that SOAP and REST. SOAP has well-built WSDL for documentation. Web service descriptive language is there to develop the documentation. But whereas REST, there is no officially declared documentation. But nowadays, developers are using Swagger. Since there is no specification, Swagger is best recommended tool for developing microservices APIs. This one we must remember and we must make a note on this. And how do we add Swagger to Spring Boot? As like we used to add dependencies for achieving Swagger also we can write we can import some dependencies that is like Swagger 2 or Swagger 3. So it depends on the current version of the market. We need to download the required dependencies and we need to put it in form.xml and we need to enable the Swagger. And where we are going to enable means when we import the project, it is generating application.java. There we need to enable at the rate enable Swagger 2. We need to put it. And some of the developers are using configuring Swagger. By configuration also we can achieve the Swagger and adding details as annotations to APIs. And for this, once we developed the Swagger and for testing, there is an open source website that is https editor.swagger.io. So left hand side, if you can place your Swagger documentation, whether it can be in .yml or XML or .json, it may not be XML. It will be in either JSON or YML format. You can place it here. It will generate as a JSON. And right hand side, you can see what are all the list of methods and if any errors are there 200 for successful message it will give 200 if any errors are there 400 401 402 and 500 server side error so all those details it will capture that means Swagger is going to capture entire information about your API implementation. Once your API is ready and you have to give your API details to consumers, then consumers will go through this Swagger document and they will understand a list of methods, a list of URLs, and list of parameters. Then based on the Swagger, they are going to implement the client side program. As part of OpenFine client, we have seen. So if we are giving this Swagger to OpenFine client consumers, it would be easy for them to write the program, and it would be easy for them to connect with the server side programming. That is the reason many developers are using nowadays. Swagger is a open source tool, and this is about the Swagger. In earlier days, previously in web services, we will be using as XML based WSDL. But for microservices or API implementation, Swagger is a best recommended tool. So we need to understand about the Swagger. Then it would be easy for us to prepare the documentation, or it will be easy for us to communicate with the server side programming, and it will be easy for developing consumer side programming. This is about Swagger, and in next session we can write the Swagger practically, and we will see on that. Till then, thank you.